Now, moving on to the next discussion. Join us as we unravel the threads of innovation and examine emerging trends that promise to redefine the very fabric of diagnostics. Together, let us navigate the exciting terrain of future-proofing diagnostics, where strategic investments and collaborative efforts converge to shape the future of healthcare. Bringing to you our next topic, future-proofing diagnostics, investment strategies, collaborations, and emerging trends. Now, I'd like to call upon the stage the speakers for the panel. Dr. Sanjay Arora, Partner, Shubhan Ventures, Founder, Suburban Diagnostics. Dr. Nilesh Shah, President and Chief of Science and Innovation, Metropolis Healthcare. Mr. Anand K, Managing Director and CEO, Agilus Diagnostics. Mr. Deepak Sahani, Founder and CEO, Healthians. Mr. Rahul Agarwal, Managing Director, Quadria Capital. Mr. Sudhakar Mishra, South Asia Head and Global Senior Director, MedTech, Healthcare and Life Sciences, Frost and Sullivan. Please welcome our panelists with a huge round of applause. Mr. Sudhakar will be leading the discussion. Over to you, Mr. Sudhakar.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks a lot for this session and to VOH for facilitating this and organizing for and calling all the panelists. So the session is really very interesting, and we have an interesting panel here because we have close to 150 years of wisdom into the diagnostics lab space. So, and these are coming from a lot of people who have established, grown this business through years. And my name is Sudhakar Mishra. I lead the healthcare practice for Frost and Sullivan. And then I will also ask my panelists to introduce them briefly, and then we can go into the topic, what we have for today. So maybe we can start with you, Sanjay.
Good afternoon. I think 150 years, I think you're making some of us really look old, I guess, on this. So.
Total, aggregate.
So, Dr. Sanjay Arora, pathologist by qualification, founder, ran Suburban Diagnostics for close to 30 years. Currently running Shubhan Ventures, which is a family office focused on the future of healthcare.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dr. Nilesh Shah. I'm a group president at Metropolis Healthcare Limited. Spent 38 years in the industry and 37 at Metropolis. Thank you so much.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Anand K. I'm currently the Managing Director and CEO of Agilus Diagnostics. I've been in the industry for the last 30 years. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, this is Deepak Sahani, founder of Healthians, which is a e-diagnostic business. I've been into this space for about 10 years, but in healthcare about 23 years now. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rahul Agarwal, Managing Director at Quadria Capital. We are a healthcare-focused private equity investor investing in South and Southeast Asia, so something a bit different about us. Only focused on healthcare, started by a doctor and a lifetime healthcare investor and investment banker. Happy to be here. Thank you.
So thanks a lot, panelists. So we know that one of the key aspects right now is we are going through global uncertainties, slowdown throughout the world. And we see this also impacting all the industries. So as we have a couple of investment bankers as part of this, investors, so I would like to understand their perspective on how do they see the current state of investments going, especially in the diagnostic labs industry. And maybe I want to start with Sanjay, and then I also want Rahul, you to comment on that.
So Sudhakar, my journey is fairly recent, maybe less than a year, where we are looking at the future of healthcare. And in that, honestly, we are not looking at diagnostics because, I've been part of the diagnostic industry for 30 years plus. So at this point of time, our focus is outside diagnostics but also complementary to what can be done in diagnostics. So I think the space that we are looking at which is commonly affecting everybody, is wellness. So I think wellness is a trend that sort of picked up during the pandemic, and it's become a buzzword for everybody. So looking at what can be done towards what we call as digital biomarkers to improve wellness outcomes. I think oncology is another space, especially when we heard the previous panel speaking about NGS being democratized. So how do you bring better outcomes in oncology? I think these are some of the areas that we are focused on, and we're looking at trying to provide what I call is patient capital. So, today most of the capital that is invested is time bound, in the sense that within 5-7 years there's an expectation on return on investment, which sometimes does not allow for innovation to actually seed. So I think here we are trying to also look at what is the future of healthcare, and can we be part of providing patient capital which will allow for innovation and R&D to actually develop within India. We see a lot of that happening overseas, where perhaps the incubation time is a little longer. So IP-related investments is something which we are trying to evaluate and see.
Right. Thanks a lot, Dr. Sanjay. And quickly, Rahul, if you would like to come in, because you have been into this business, and I know that you guys already have into brick and mortar business, and slowly you are evolving. So any commentary around that, or how do you see this journey evolving as the technology evolves and companies are becoming more and more technology focused?
Sure. So the future of healthcare is bright, very bright. We are healthcare investors, so no other option but to say that. But genuinely, in South and Southeast Asia, and I think everyone here is somehow connected to healthcare, you don't need to prove to this audience why the future of healthcare is very bright. If you see from an investor's perspective, I think healthcare in India has been amongst the top 2 or 3 sectors consistently over the past 10 to 15 years in terms of private equity and venture capital investments, and I think that is likely to continue. Great success stories. I think 4 gentlemen sitting here have created some of those, 4 of those great success stories. We have 2 arms, right? Quadria is a growth capital focused investor. So we look at mature businesses where the business model is proven, has already scaled up, and businesses need capital to grow further. We also have a VC arm, right? Something similar to what Sanjay is doing in, maybe a bit of different shape and form. It's a fund called HealthQuad. They are investing in early stage healthcare businesses, a mix of health tech and other models which are supporting, let's say, the brick and mortar businesses, right? I think in both areas we see significant opportunities, significant traction, and a never-ending need for capital. A very good supply of very smart, very energetic, and full of idea entrepreneurs. Good businesses getting built. Quadria, we would get focused on a bit more established stories. HealthQuad would look at the earlier stage side of it. I think Sanjay made a good point that, and I would sort of maybe add to it that you have to look at different pools of capital, right? And a pool of capital has to meet the need of the company, right? So 5 to 7 years, which is our perspective, works a bit better in established companies where the business model, the risk of proving the business model, the unit economics are all proven. But thankfully and fortunately, and some of the people are there in this room, there are alternative pools of capital emerging, right? So family offices, for example, Sanjay, right? Who can take slightly longer, slightly bolder bets. You have now corporates, healthcare, pharma corporates who are now venturing out and supporting ventures in affiliated healthcare areas, right? So they hopefully represent more patient pools of capital who can take those bolder bets and maybe stay in companies for 8-10 years and look at it from a more strategic perspective, right? And bring some more value add to those investments. PE funds, again, PE and VC funds, you'll see generalist PE VC funds who will be a bit impatient in the time frames. Someone like us, a healthcare fund, we understand that healthcare, you can't change healthcare overnight, right? It's a slow process. It takes its own time. And I think, some of the questions which will follow, I think probably we'll discuss that, some new age ideas, how soon can they see traction? So I think two big points. Number one, I think the future is obviously very bright, but you should look at various pools of capital and try to match your pool of capital to the need of the business, because that's when the best partnership would happen.
Right. Thanks a lot, Rahul, for bringing that perspective. Definitely, we need to look the beyond and from the current state. And now coming on that, because we still see a big unorganized sector. And Anand, I know that Agilus has played, and also all the other gentlemen here have played a significant role in organizing this sector. But still, we see that the sector has like roughly 15% representation of organized versus 85% unorganized. So how do you see this evolution happening in coming years, and what's the trend, and how do you see this industry really shaping up for more and more collaborations going further, and trying, because what we see also in US and some other markets, that the bigger players are even becoming bigger, and the industry is far more organized. So Anand, your thoughts on that and perspectives around that?
Thanks, Sudhakar. So this unorganized, organized is a very loaded word. So, when I talk to many laboratories, they get upset or offended sometimes when you use the word unorganized for them. So it's basically some classification among the investors community which has led to this, where you have an organized and unorganized being classified like that. So it simply means that these are large chains which have, some private equity investments, or they're listed. So those kind of groups. So now even we have further classified it into, regional organized chains and national organized chains and all that. So, but be that as it may, we are quite clear that yes, we still have a large pool of what is called as unorganized across the country, and that gives an opportunity to consolidate both for the regional players as well as for the national players. And I'm sure the future trends in healthcare, like the coming in of insurance, the requirements of accreditations, the requirements of Ayushman Bharat and such activities, these will bring about more and more labs getting together, collaborating with each other, as well as finding opportunities to work together and partner, both in contractual as well as strategic ways.
Thanks a lot, Anand, and thanks for clarifying around organized and unorganized sector. So, Sanjay, you want to make a remark? Please go ahead.
If I can just continue on what Anand just said, that I think one way to also differentiate is, if there are 3 lakh laboratories in our country, we don't have a registry actually to truly tell us how many labs are there. How many are enable accredited is perhaps one way to, distinguish. So, maybe less than 3,000 labs are enable accredited versus majority of them are not. I think that perhaps is one way to maybe segment the market. But I think there is a need for consolidation, but there's also a need for dissemination of services in areas to provide better access. So I think it will be a constant evolution where, you will have the spread towards the hinterland, but also maybe consolidation happening as the market moves up the pyramid. So I think it will be a constant evolution. But I think if there is a national registry that can be created, if we can actually know how many labs exist, if we can actually facilitate more and more labs to adopt accreditation, I think the opportunity is overall to lift the standard of diagnostic care. I think that's where I think we should be trying to look at.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Sanjay, for that perspective. And you are absolutely right. There is no single source of truth for a lot of data because it's not really accounted. And maybe as per our estimates also, it's almost 1.1 lakhs labs, out of which around close to 3,000 are NABL accredited. So coming to Dr. Shah, so you have been leading a lot of scientific innovations, and how do you see that also playing a role as the company emerges and what role it has to play in making it better for patient outcomes as well as return for investments for the company itself.
So our industry, uh, somewhere people, we are on a probably little commercial platform, but without science, commerce will not work. So staying in touch with science and scientifically growing is inevitable. There have been few companies I do not want to name. They tried all tricks to do get bigger only on commercial front, and they fall flat. So growing on science, so new product, new technology, improving your cost, efficiency, and quality is a consistent journey, keeping patient first and ensuring that doctors are enough helped is something, a path which is inevitable if you want to sustain for decades from now. If you want to be a short-term player, then you can avoid it, otherwise not. And your investments also have to be aligned to that. So you look at ROI, we use the word ROI, and I'm going to take that. The ROI cannot be looked only at commercially. ROI need to be looked in terms of efficiency in reporting, quality enhancement, and also cost. All three balance has to be there. Then it is a right investment, I would feel. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Shah. And coming to Deepak, we have seen a significant growth, how Healthians has grown, and any observations on these aspects from your perspective, looking at how the industry is moving in next few years, and what are your thoughts around that?
Sure. No, I think summed up very well. So one, obviously, we also see there is, when we talked about an unorganized sector specifically, I think it is becoming organized. There was a wave during COVID wherein there was a need, or there was an ask for a brand. Otherwise, in diagnostic, brand had no value, right? There were a lot of brands. During COVID, we saw there is something called a brand that has started coming up, which is moving towards organized. But there are a lot of good labs out there. And I think there is a future of collaborations, like we see consolidation, collaborations, because building lab everywhere does not make sense. It's an infrastructure lying empty everywhere. And I think the collaboration in that direction will work really, really well. Coming to the point, I think there is definitely a lot of investments that has to go into technology, because that's where, like Mr. Shah said, I think it is also about clinical technology as well as the IT technology. Both go hand in hand. And that will probably improve the overall outcomes. In the last panel, we were talking about a lot of things in technology, and there were different views in terms of why technology is needed and why it is not needed. Where we come in from, the whole growth of the business has been based on technology. With obviously a fleet of 2,800 people in the front end, managed by only 9 people at the back end, was only possible through technology, and it was not possible other way around. So technology in many ways has helped to probably optimize the cost, stay at a good gross margin levels even at discounted prices. And I think it is there to stay because a lot of evolution will come in that particular space. Today we handle a lot of big data through AI and technology, which helps us to probably give better outcomes or recommend tests, or probably also recommend tests after the sample is being taken. So all that is possible over technology, and there are a lot of such use cases which has actually changed the whole angle of, you can say, convenience, whole angle of the customer sensitivity, whole angle of getting better and better services at the consumer end by using technology. So I think that's something that most of us will have to continuously invest, and innovations will happen there.
Great. Thanks a lot, Deepak, for those insights. And I would like to also build upon the point which we have been delving more on how do we see next 10 years progressing, especially from the investment community. So I know, Rahul, you touched upon briefly, but that the healthcare has huge scope, that's undeniable. But what kind of investments do you see picking up more and more? Is it moving for more IP-led, as Sanjay was talking, and you guys want to take a bigger risk into the whole game, or the players like, because I'm sure technology is going to be game changer, right? So if you look at AI or data or machine learning, whatever roles they are playing, so maybe the investment firms need to be also be a little more bold in investments. So any thoughts around that? What's going on within the community, investor community there?
Yeah, so see, India is a very large market, right? And still a lot of unmet need. So a lot of investment is required to fulfill the need gap. And India is a very interesting and unique market, which is both fulfilling its unmet needs, but there is enough skill, talent, capital, and risk-taking capability available. That's unique. Unique in India. There may be few other markets as well, where apart from trying to get basic healthcare to who don't currently have it, so increase that access, the country and its healthcare system is also advancing very fast. And both investing, creating operating capabilities, and adopting newer ideas while trying to take, so on one hand, you're taking basic healthcare to those who don't have it, and then trying to elevate, move up the value chain on every aspect, right? So now linking to where investment will go everywhere, right? Investors chase a return on capital, right? While I'm sure there are more clinicians, operators in this room, and they will say, hey, investors, you only chase return. But see, ultimately, businesses have to be sustainable, right? And that's how investors will always evaluate. And that is the investor's value add to a business, right? How do you build a business rationally, which is sustainable and which creates a returns, and then helps you create internal capital to keep growing that business for a very, very long term. So investments will go in every area of healthcare. If you take diagnostics, investments will keep going into basic diagnostics, your routine testing. I think still bulk of the business, still very profitable, still a big unmet need. We can keep debating whether unorganized and organized was created by investors or consultants like Sudhakar, Anand. So maybe I'll probably pass on a bit of that blame to the consultants. But investment will go in those areas. Again, there are now VC funds, VC investors who are also investing in innovation. If you stick to diagnostics, right, there's a lot of investment going into AI for radiology, AI for pathology, specialized testing. Again, that's a topic which can probably need one full conference itself to debate whether how fast can it grow, where can it grow. But you see that adoption happening at a very good pace. Smart entrepreneurs, good companies doing a lot of work behind it. So if I cut the long story short, investment will happen in brick and mortar, old economy businesses, if I call them that, and also newer ideas. Just because the availability of talent, clinical talent, scientific talent, tech talent in India is probably much better than many other markets that we invest in other markets in Asia as well. So both areas will see a lot of investment, at least for the next few years. And still probably, the need will be unmet.
No, thanks a lot, Rahul, for that perspective. And you brought a good point that businesses has to be sustainable, whether in short term, long term, you have to define the horizon. So just now coming back to another important point of collaboration, I know that we have all the industry players who have looked at this collaboration, be it with patient, be it with providers, be it with technology companies. So Anand, what are your views? How do you see this collaboration which has evolved, and what are the challenges you also met through the journey, and how did you kind of overcome that? Because I know it's not easy always to navigate the paths once you are kind of growing the company and trying to bring a lot of partners together.
Right. Sudhakar, as we all know, healthcare has always been all about collaboration. So it's healthcare providers. We all know about who's the payer, who's the patient, what's the product and all that. So there's a lot of collaboration that's involved between different types of healthcare providers. And we, as part of the value chain, as diagnostic players, we are a very critical element. And we need to collaborate with the healthcare providers, be it hospitals, other laboratories, government organizations, government hospitals, government healthcare infrastructure, insurance companies, corporate houses. So all these different gamuts of healthcare, we need to collaborate in order to provide the real healthcare delivery. So what is important is, what is the outcome that we are looking at? So how do we influence the patient outcome, and what is the value that we create out of the whole effort? So if that gets to be recognized in the collaboration, that's the better collaboration than, when you talk about more of a transactional kind of relationship between the collaborators. So where you talk about, what is the price per test, or where you say, it's very commoditized kind of an approach. So where you say, okay, I'm going to take some services from you, so I'm going to pay you so much per test. So rather than that, if we are able to actually work on a collaboration which values the contribution in terms of how we influence the patient outcomes, so that will have a much better way in which we influence the overall healthcare ecosystem in the country. And that is how, we will be much more prepared when we enter into much more mature segments of healthcare, like when insurance and such things happen in the country in a bigger way.
No, definitely. Thanks a lot, Anand, for that view, because we heard this throughout the sessions that it's patient outcomes, patient experience, rather than the transactional relationship in these collaborations. And Dr. Nilesh, what's your take? Any challenges you came or any experiences you want to share in this journey, long journey with Metropolis, which you want to highlight and which kind of made you think that is it the right industry, and how did you kind of overcame that?
During these 38 years, yes, occasion it came where people didn't appreciate after your good work. And at times when you are not in front, see, the issue is that you are not always on the forefront to handle patient or to handle your partner. I'm going to call all collaborators as partner. You're not there in front. And you never got chance, and you depend on your team, which is 3 levels down the line, who could not deliver as per the norm set. That is the biggest challenge which we face. So making your service and standard uniform across your all labs is not easy task at all. Running the lab under your nose is difficult, but running the lab remotely at multiple locations is even more difficult. There are ways, there are methods where you can bring stability to some level, which are linked to technology, using of the your policies and procedures, and doing audits, and having your quality department, having monitoring done, audits done. All those things happen, but every challenge is very different. It is not uniform. And at times you are not appreciated for a thing which is perceived mistake or perceived shortcoming. And that is where we feel that, in service industry, at times you feel you are doing a bit thankless job. But this will be very occasional. Overall, if you ask me, I'm very proud of being part of lab industry, part of being healthcare and making difference in somebody's life, bringing health for them. I think I feel very, very proud to be there. Yeah, thank you.
No, thanks a lot, Dr. Nilesh, because definitely your critical point is that although lab industry is roughly 3 to 4% of overall Indian healthcare industry, but the impact of it is roughly 70%. So any diagnosis you look at, any treatment pathways, all of it has to start from diagnostics. There's no other way how you can navigate. So coming to Deepak, Deepak, you brought a very critical point saying, hey, we have 2,400 people in the front line and only 9 on the back end. How did you manage that? And what was the key contributor? I'm sure the technology was, but what were the other enablers to make it successful? And any challenges you also faced during this phase which you want to highlight? Because managing that operations, lean operations from the back end is a superb task, right? So anything you want to share with the audience?
Sure. I think yes, so most of it has been managed by technology, but definitely putting the team together, and specifically during COVID times, making the team go to the field. It's all require a lot of manual efforts. There is a lot of automation required in the training methods also, because you are now recruiting people in 250 cities. All cannot come in one area. So you have to digitize everything from their onboarding to their training modules to their refresher trainings. So we've been able to do it again through technology, put them into a kind of a different sort of an examination, put them into different sort of internal degrees to probably go to the next level and next level and next level to do that. Challenges, definitely there are a lot of challenges because the day I obviously thought of doing that, a lot of people told me that actually the delivery boy goes till the door of the house and come back. Your guy is gonna go 15 minutes inside the house and come back. How would you secure everything? How would you make ensure that there is entire safety and all that structure in there? So there were a lot of challenges, and a lot of challenges were solved because we were tracking. And coming down to obviously the discussions about collaborations, I think, so there are internal collaborations we talked about, there are external collaborations. I just wanted to touch base on one thing. Externally, an ecosystem is trying to collaborate. There was issues in collaboration in terms of data privacy, who will own the customer, and a lot of other stuff which is getting solved, and I think there is an openness today. Insurance company is collaborating widely. The TPAs are collaborating. Corporates are collaborating. And so there's a lot of collaboration happening. Pharma is collaborating. Research companies are collaborating. Government is collaborating. When I talk about internal collaborations, during the COVID time, I think on the March of the first month of COVID, I tried asking that if there is a collaboration group for our labs. And I was the one who formed Path Lab Uniting Forces as a first group. And called up multiple people to join, and everybody asking who's coming. So that lab industry started coming together during that point, and then it became a collaborative this thing, and till today that group works and a lot of collaboration happens over there. But I think there has to be more openness towards that sort of a collaboration amongst the labs also, because there is a lot of infrastructure lying, and there has to be more innovations out there. And specifically given spending the last 10 years and the next 10 years, I think my definition internally, and this is a personal this thing, for entire diagnostic is changing. So last decade of diagnostic for us has been automation, right? And I would say it's an ABC for diagnostic for us. It's been automation, better reach, and convenience. I think it is completely changing in this decade to AI, big data, and collaborations. So that's how we define the ABC now.
No, very contextual, and thanks a lot for giving the background, because automation was the first wave and the emerging technologies are the second wave, and we have to embrace both of them in different shapes and forms. I know, Dr. Sanjay, you have been also running your own lab for a very, very long time. Any additional perspectives you would like to add here?
So I think Deepak briefly touched upon it just now, that big data. I think data is perhaps a big opportunity for this industry to collaborate. To put it into perspective, can we get a reference range that is common across the country? Now, every lab, everybody has a different reference range. Can we bring data together through this National Digital Health Mission, and can we create a uniform reference range for every test? Can we create a similar test code? Because if you want to create a universal patient ID, healthcare ID, and if you want to have interoperability of data, if a patient from any part of the country can access and still have the same level of care. So I think back-end collaboration of anonymized data, building reference ranges, building similar test codes, that will probably bring the industry together. I think the other opportunity is how do we use this data to give back to our clinicians information that is hidden. I think COVID probably did that in a big way, of using the epidemiological data to give back and identify hotspots, identify disease trends, how COVID is evolving. At Suburban, we did this in a small way in Western India by using data from our, say, culture. The common test is a urine culture. And we culled out data and we gave it back to the clinicians that if ever you have to prescribe an antibiotic, this is the trend that is prevailing in your backyard on which is the common antibiotic, which is resistant, which is sensitive, which is the common bacteria that is prevalent. What is the incidence of each type of infection, different age group, different, gender. So that data is sitting with all of us. Now, how do you create a national repository and create this kind of disease trends which can help in planning ahead, that what is the prediction of malaria going forward? What is the prediction of dengue going forward? Where do we need to put more effort in screening? Where do we need to put more effort in disease control? So I think there is a lot of opportunity, according to me, in culling out and bringing together this data, which can be used in different facets. And I think data perhaps is something which is at this point of time below the surface. How do we use data privacy laws and anonymize data, make it onto a common platform, and give it back to the patients, to the clinicians, to society in general, to policymakers that can help evolve this outcome in a better way.
Sure, please. Yeah, please.
So on data front, I am going to talk about some limitations and some way forward and a success story, all three, in shortest possible time. So limitation, all the labs face that we don't have anything beyond patient demographic, test name and the result. We don't have anything beyond. And when it is B2B, even there are more limitations. We have no clinical history, nothing. However, we have a gold mine of data. We have data for a chain labs, like it's coming from various parts of the country, various kind of population and so on, people on various treatment protocol, and we have it. But somehow in the country, this is what is lacking, where a unified central depository of information, where all the relevant requirement is together and you can take out a meaning. And I want to just share one example where I worked on extensively on the data, and data became so meaningful. Like we have a test called AMH, which is for ovarian reserve, which is connected to women fertility. And the data showed year on year, fertility of the woman is going down. In younger women, AMH levels are dropping. Now we did some more work. It was 77,000 patient data. We made a cut into urban and rural population. Then we made a cut into people living near seashore, people having different lifestyle, different age group, and different strata, like rich people versus poor people. All that we tried making it after making calls and all. It has become so meaningful. It is getting published in some time. It has become meaningful. Imagine this data is given to government. I think they can take some action on it. It can go to pharma company. I think it will be useful for them, and so on. So data can be actually commoditized, can be made use for pharma companies. But when you start with this data, I think you need much more information. So frankly, I would propose, my suggestion is you have to first think of a buyer who is going to buy my data and build data accordingly. Ensure that patient demographic alone is not captured. You even take the dietary part, you take the race, age, everything you take, then it will become meaningful. Otherwise, just talking about big data, and I'm minusing genomic side, that is not my expert area, but I'm talking about rest of the thing. If this is the way data is built, it will become much more useful.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Nilesh. So also this brings me to what are the future opportunities, right? Because in a lot of sessions, we have covered a lot of ground in terms of data integration, genomics. We have talked about smart labs, also decentralized POCT for infectious diseases, and also demand for multi-omics. So just coming to Anand, how do you see the industry evolving more from these new technology perspective and the future opportunities, especially in what are the areas, let's say, you will bet on in next 5 to 7 years, 10 years?
So I think, like what Dr. Sanjay said, and also Rajiv pointed out during his talk, that there are a few areas which are going to be the clear front runners as far as the future of diagnostics is concerned. So in that, if you see as an industry, it is about like what we all talked about just now. It's about how are we going to leverage the data that we have, and how data is going to play a very key role, whether it is in terms of creating some actionable outcomes, actionable insights that can be of use to clinicians. Because obviously the role of the lab is to empower the clinician so that he can influence the patient outcome in a better way. So when you look at it that way, not only like what you said, 70% of the clinical decisions are based on lab tests. But at the same time, 70%, even 80% of the structured data in a hospital, in a healthcare ecosystem, is from the lab side. So that means that there's a lot of data which is available. Like what Dr. Nilesh said, It is just, currently there's just a patient demographics attached to it. If you are able to add a lot of things more to it, like clinical history, and I think with the advent of systems like ABDM, Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, like what Dr. Sanjay was referring to, the ABA numbers, and the kind of interoperability that we are talking about between various healthcare providers and the laboratories and diagnostic centers. So you will be able to access a lot of information about one patient from different sources, which will bring together a lot of information, a lot of data, which can be further used to, really look at what can be brought out from that kind of a data. So using AI, ML, and a lot of artificial intelligence related tools, we can look at how that data can be used. So data and AI is going to be very important. I think the second one, as again was referred to you by you as well, the omics story, genomics, personalized medicine, for which precision diagnostics is very critical and integral part of personalized medicine. So even in the previous panel, there was a lot of talk about personalized medicine. So I think that's also a very important factor where currently we this genomics as such overall contributes to only about 2% of our overall industry. But I think the growth on that segment is much faster than other segments. So then you, apart from that, if you talk about the India as a story, so what we see here is even today, almost 60 to 65% of the overall diagnostic industry is concentrated in the urban areas. So we have a huge story where about 60 to 70% of our population lives in rural areas. So the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, that is going to be the next big story when it comes to how we move into these cities and how we are able to provide the healthcare facilities and how do we integrate them into the overall mainstream of healthcare services. So that is going to be a big opportunity as far as India is specifically concerned. Another aspect is what already was talked about is about preventive health. So preventive health currently contributes to 10 to 15% of the overall business in diagnostics as of today. But we see a big movement on growth on that particular segment as well because of the kind of awareness that's being created in the post-pandemic scenario. So I think these are some of the key elements where we see a sort of a growth in this industry.
No, thanks a lot, Anand. And data is just a data unless you make meaningful use of it and bring some insights. And another key aspect, what you talked about, is access to care and preventive health, precision medicine. These are all very important and relevant topic. One very quick reflection also, Rahul, from you. I know that you have different investment strategies, but anything from the future technology perspective, you would like to see more investments flowing in, especially in the diagnostic space? Do you think more on the POCT side, AI in molecular testing, multi-omics, next-gen sequencing? So what do you think, what's going on and what will kind of shape up more? Any quick reflection on that? And I know we are kind of last 4 minutes, so maybe...
Sure, no, I'll try to keep it quick. See, investors will always follow where operators are going, and that's how it should be, right? Investors can't define the trend and operators follow. That's the, cart before the horse. See, all these areas, and I think some of these will grow faster, some of these will grow slower, right? But one reflection, what Dr. Nilesh also said, and I think to the debate earlier, see, there is of course a case for use of data, right? But in healthcare, things change at their own pace, right? You can crunch data, you can come out with the outcomes, but how soon and how widely it will get adopted and start impacted decision making and outcomes, that's generally a slow process, right? So that has to be, I'm speaking from an investor's perspective, right? So I'm not saying that should not be done. But again, going back to the previous point, you'll have to find the right set of investors who have that patient capital for that slow process of change to take place and happen, right? So if you see recently in the past 5 years, a lot of VC investment, this is a topic more ripe for VC investors probably. In the last 5 years, a lot of VC investments have happened into what Deepak was explaining earlier, which is in using technology to increase access, uh, make it more convenient, and take it more B2C, right? Because healthcare has been a B2B to C subject so far, and now a lot of shift is happening to more B2C, right? Different initiatives happening to make it more B2C, where the patients who are having a much less say in decision making so far, wherever possible, wherever logical, they start taking decisions independently, and that's where many of the business models are betting, right? Now going to, let's say, use of some deep tech in healthcare, AI certainly will grow, right? We are seeing, in fact, our VC fund HealthCode has backed an AI radiology company called Cure.ai, right? Many such other models, THB, which is a data mining company focused on diagnostics, pharma, trying to do what Dr. Nilesh was saying. AI in mental health, right? I mean, it's not a diagnostics topic, but probably linked to diagnostics in some manner. But where you, from an investor's perspective, where you see them creating revenue generating and profit generating models, some of these are still dependent on Western customers, right? In India, again, India is a very unique market. We want quality, we want innovation, but vast majority of the market doesn't want to pay for it, right? And that is where the adoption of some of these new age initiatives is slow. You will find entrepreneurs with very smart ideas. You will always find some initial takers for those ideas, but can that be taken from 10 to 20, 0 to 10 is easy, and not very easy, but 0 to 10 can be achieved because you'll find some takers for something new, but will that go from 10 to 30 and 30 to 50? That's where, as an investor, we get focused. But there is definitely a case for investment in innovative ideas in deep tech for healthcare. And there are pools of capital emerging which will keep supporting this. And this is bound to happen, right? Because as I said, India is a unique market which will keep fighting to fulfill basic needs for more and more, but will also keep elevating and keep moving up the value chain, right? That's our entrepreneurial talent.
No, very valid points, Rahul. I know we are coming to the end, but maybe I just want to give other panelists also an opportunity, at least for 30 seconds each. So Deepak, what's your view? You already touched upon big data, AI, which will be the future in diagnostics. Any quick last-minute reflections you want to share with the group?
Yeah, I think like we talked about structuring of a data, it is happening. We've been actually last 4-5 years structuring the data. We don't have just the clinical data, but we have a lifestyle data. We have genomics data. We also have wearable data coming from the phones. We also have a lot of input data that we take during the collections about the entire, the weight, the height, the BMI, the BP, and all other stuff coming together, and it's becoming useful. So I think that's where the future is lying in, wherein diagnostic companies has to think beyond just giving the report. Right. And those report will become a kind of a source for a lot of things. So we have to empower doctors, that is also our responsibility. Empowering patient is also our responsibility. I think more work to be done there.
Thanks a lot, Deepak. Dr. Nilesh, any last thoughts from your side?
On what subject?
On the data in the future. You already mentioned on the data side. Anything else you see trending in near future?
Yeah, so as I said, data has to be actionable, and labs have to start taking much more information, at least from B2C, much more information than what they are capturing. And that comes to data on lifestyle also. Whether they are vegetarian, non-vegetarian, right from there, I think all these cuts will be very, very useful to take out a meaning out of it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And Dr. Arora, any last thoughts from your side?
So I think 3 areas that I think clearly, there's an opportunity for us to focus on. One is, I think briefly touched upon, is mental health. And I think that's again, a tip below the iceberg. We can only see the tip, we can't see what's below the surface. It's just waiting to explode, literally, and it's all there. I think linked to mental health is also the aging population that we will have. This whole area around elder care and geriatric care, I think that's another big opportunity that is there. And third, I think, is how can we leverage everything that we have spoken to pick things early. early detection, whether it is any disease, like lifestyle disease, oncology, especially cancer. So what can we do to pick up cancer at a very early stage? Because, they say that the best, treatment for cancer is prevention. The next is early detection. So I think early detection is clearly an opportunity. So mental health, geriatric elder care, and early detection, I think, are clear opportunities for us to work on.
Thanks a lot, everyone. This was very insightful and meaningful discussion. I hope everyone benefited from it. So with that, I will kind of close the panel, and thank you, everyone, for coming here and spending time. Thanks to VOH for giving us this opportunity to come together. And over to you for other things.
Thank you, panelists, for such an insightful discussion. Thank you, Mr. Sudhakar, for wonderfully leading the discussion. Now, I request all panelists to step forward for felicitation. And I request Mr. Sudhakar to felicitate his co-panelists. Oh, yes. Yeah, sure, sir.
Maybe we can take one question. We are already time's up, but please.
So thank you. I am Dr. Dinkar Desai, President of Association of Practicing Pathologists and the Pathologist Association, and I represent the practicing pathologists as a whole. Here there are people and representative of sort of corporate laboratories. My question is, we are facing lot of illegal laboratories, unauthorized laboratories, and bogus laboratories practicing all over India in a rampant fashion. We have not talked about that. The alone fighter against this is practicing pathologists. I find such big stalwarts here who have got very much capacity to join us in this campaign openly. And as Dr. Sanjay said, we must have got a absolute register. Who are the official laboratories? What is the number? So that is most important. And may I get some answer from all 3 or 4 of the panelists, one by one. Are you planning in the nearest future to join us openly? Why not? When you can say, when somebody comes for a price war, that such and such lipid profile is at 190, 100, you also declare that. You are no more a reference laboratory, you are next door to my laboratory. So you and me are the same, on the same footing. So when I am troubled by the 3rd laboratory, which is unofficial laboratory, 4th laboratory, which is illegal laboratory, and 5th laboratory, which is bogus laboratory, why you are not coming openly to say that 3rd, 4th, and 5th laboratory should be banned? And unless this force comes together and brings a lot of pressure to the government, see, there is on one side a decision of Honorable Supreme Court.
Dr. Dikta, I think it's a great topic, but perhaps maybe beyond the scope of the current discussion, maybe we can discuss it offline. I think there's another panel discussion waiting to happen.
Sanjay, I just wanted to give a thought.
No, I think we brought it up that, how do you make accreditation, a common thread.
Accreditation is different.
No, I think that's one way. I think we can discuss this offline, I think, Thank you.
Sure. Okay.
Now, I request all panelists to step forward for felicitation, and I request Mr. Sudhakar to felicitate his co-panelists. Dr. Sanjay Arora. Dr. Nilesh Shah. Mr. Anand K. Mr. Deepak Sahni. Mr. Rahul Agarwal. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Khushbu Sharma to the stage to felicitate Mr. Sudhakar. Mr. Sudhakar Mishra. Now, I request all panelists to gather for a photo